secure and efficient shipping on clean oceans are shared. Now, this year's World Maritime Day will be marked today with the theme Empowering Women in the Maritime Community. Let's cruise over and listen in live.
Shipping and also the preservation of the marine environment. This year, for the first time in 70 years, we are celebrating or taking time to take stock of the role of women in the maritime sector. Next year, we shall be celebrating sustainable shipping. So this comes out to set apart an aspect of IMO's work, an important aspect of shipping. So this year, it is women. It's all about women and the role they play. Why was it considered important to highlight women in maritime sector? It's because this has been a traditionally male-dominated industry, and the recognition that to have sustainability, you cannot exclude a whole part of humanity. Women form half of humanity, and if they are not involved in order to get sustainable economic growth in countries, then you are also ignoring the SDGs, SDG number 5, equity, gender equity, and therefore this is why IMO thought it fit to bring out this aspect in shipping. So this is IMO's contribution, actually, the shipping industry's contribution to SDG number 5. It's been a momentous year. We celebrate women.
Talk about opportunities of women in the maritime sector.
The maritime sector has changed. It's been the driver of economic growth in countries. GDP must depend on the on the role of shipping in the economic sector. Traditionally, if we could say, women have not been heard. And historically, we know that for a woman to be able to go to sea, they had to disguise themselves as men. And of course, her career ended when she was found out by the captain and she had to leave her job. But now, the various sectors that women can play have improved, have increased, because we've got offshore industries. The dynamism of the sector has increased. We've got cruise tourism, and therefore we're seeing increasingly women being able to play a bigger role. Some of the traditional issues that have held them back also, there are policy issues around them. For example, the lack of sea time for cadets, because sea time is an important component of the training and certification and qualification of seafarers. So the idea is to bring these problems to an end. Being sensitive to women's life cycles. Women are still mothers, so sometimes they will need to take time off to go and play that role. They are wives, and also having the support system that they need. Also, getting rid of the baggage of what women can do, of whether women can work outside the home. These are all issues that are being addressed and brought to the public domain to be dealt with in policy issues. Remuneration also, having equal pay for equal work for both men and women, particularly in the sector.
What is the ratio so far?
The ratio so far from studies that have been done of 2 million seafarers, only 2% are women. So there is a big gap to cover. But as you have seen, even Kenya as a government, we are working towards that, giving visibility to the women that have succeeded in the sector. And I'm proud to be one of them, to be a role model, creating strong role models for young girls that they may also be able to see and reframe their minds to what is possible and what they can be. And we are glad that the government has been very supportive, particularly in the maritime sector, working closely with IMO. We've got a very strong mentorship program. WOMESA, you're aware about it. We are proud as Kenya to be the seat of the Association for Women in the Maritime Sector, covering 26 countries in Eastern and Southern Africa. The offices of WOMESA are sitting within the maritime regulator, that is the Kenya Maritime Authority, and we've seen an increase in the number of women who are showing interest, because women are smart. This year in ICS, that is chartered, the ICS, Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers, globally, Kenya produced a woman as one of the best students, which means that now what is remaining is to translate those qualifications into the workplace, to have the employers, particularly within government, having the ratio of women commensurate with the qualifications that they are getting. You've also seen that the government is very keen to create employment in the sector. We've got this association within the revival of Kenya National Shipping Line, creation of opportunities. And why are we doing that? And what is the strategy that the government has taken? You are aware that we had a break in our seamanship role. When the STCW 95 came into force, we lost our traditional, strong seafaring, roots. And therefore, nature hits a vacuum, you know that, and that place was taken by others. We have to reclaim the reputation that we had. We have to reclaim and build that brand again. The easiest way to do it has been taking advantage of the jobs that are in the cruise industry. And thus, the MOU with the Mediterranean Shipping Company that has seen us being able to lift our young people to go and work at sea. Of the 272 that we have so far recruited, 110 of those are women. And we are therefore now in the process or on the platform to create a brand name for Kenya so that when Kenya is mentioned, you already know Kenya has good coffee. We already know that Kenya has good tea. Now we are going to add an extra layer. Kenya has good seafarers. And the brand is on the making.
So what are the challenges that women have been facing that have seen them lag behind in terms of ratio compared to men?
Most of the challenges, some of them have mentioned, lack of sea time training baths. Because of the traditional male domination of the role, even facilities in the ship are geared towards having men. And this is one of the conversations that IMO has taken up. Let there be equal baths and let that mindset of having women also on board, let's break those barriers. There's also been slow accession to equal remuneration, so you find that women generally tend to earn less, and also very slow accession to management levels. And therefore, these are issues that we are dealing with. And also the traditional baggage, like I said, what women can do and what they cannot do, working outside home. And therefore, these are some of the issues that are changing. Very, very important to have a strong mentorship and also role models. I know I'm a lawyer today because there was a lady I looked up to when I was 10 years old. There was a lady called Mrs. Now she's Effie Award. And being the first lady lawyer, the first magistrate, really had a great impression and helped me reframe how far I could go. And therefore, that's one of the things that we are creating. Women who are visible and women who can speak and who young girls can look up to. So those are some of the issues that are taking place in the sector. But also having IMO take a whole year of highlighting this issue in the global space has also been very, very useful. Because for the whole year, the theme of having a theme around women empowerment and support in the sector has also been very good, and also now begins to bring fruition to the SDGs. Because unless you empower women at the grassroots, that when you give them economic empowerment, when you give them the space to be masters of their own economic, identity and development, then the SDGs will be a pipe dream. And this is part of what the maritime sector is doing in encouraging more women, supporting them, and creating the opportunity. The availability of training programs, also very, very important. I'm here today because I was given an opportunity to go and do international maritime law through the UN. So working through the government technical support programs within IMO at bilateral or international level, also, creating those opportunities for women to go and undertake further studies is very, very important. But then you see it has the traditional baggage, because a married woman has to have the support of her immediate family to be able to go and study. So it's breaking down those barriers and creating those opportunities. And that's one place where WAMESA has also been very, very strong in creating a platform to lobby for training opportunities for women. Yeah.
And my last question, I understand you started a program on mentorship, especially in secondary schools.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, like I've said, visibility of women who have made it in the sector, how they conduct themselves, how they are in the workplace is very, very important. So WOMESA has one of the pillars of WOMESA is a mentorship program, and therefore we interact with young students, young people, in order to be able to understand what is in it for them. It's a challenging sector, but also it's all to do with the mindset. If you are resilient, if you know what you're doing, and if you can see the end in sight, then of course you're going to make it. And therefore, for me in my work, that has been a very, very important point for me. If I give up, I'm letting down a lot of young ladies behind me. So I'm very conscious that I have to stay the course, and I have to be able to reflect to them that it is possible. We also encourage our brothers, all of you, the men, to have to get a mind that is free from gender bias. That when you're interviewing, when you're looking, when a recruitment is taking place, and you're looking at a CV, you look at it not because it's from a woman, because as women, we don't want to be taken on board just because we are women. We want to be able to prove that we can deliver, and therefore it's about getting qualified women who can work and deliver, but not just having women on the table.
Honorable PS, maybe as a follow-up to his question, there are so many girls watching you right now, and some of them really maybe are trying to think, maybe I should go into this sector, maybe not, and that hesitance is because of some of the factors that you've mentioned.
Yes.
What do you have to tell them?
I want them to see me and know that there are no barriers in this sector, that it is possible, that they can dream and come in and work hard, not because they are being lifted up by somebody, but because of their own capabilities. I want them to have confidence that it is possible and that they can make it and they can do it. And for them to know that the entry point, the beauty about the maritime sector is you can get in at the bottom, the first rung of the staircase, and make it to the very top. That's the beauty. When you think of exporting labor, you think of, in the medical profession, for example, it has to be people at the top level. But in this sector, you can get in and with very low skills, mid skills, and get to have a career path that takes you to the top. And that's why we are encouraging our young people to look at this and to embrace what the government has opened for them, jobs in the maritime sector. Currently, we are targeting on the hospitality industry, but there is a method to that seeming madness, because I saw not so long ago on our platform seafarers complaining that cruise people, cooks, are being called seafarers, but they're working at sea. And the reason we've done that is we've already got a strong hospitality product. If we are able to create the platform that other people, ship owners, other employers outside this country can see what it is like to employ a Kenyan, then we will have broken some of the barriers we are talking about.
Maybe so we just get the voice of the DG. As an authority, how much importance do you attach to today's theme?
Yeah, thank you, members of the press. Today's a theme of empowerment of women in maritime community, as the PS has already said. As an authority, we are having mentorship programs whereby not only going to those girls' institutions, we are having interaction with them, inviting them to our Kenya Maritime Authority headquarters and taking them through the career opportunities that are available in the maritime cluster, of which we do realize that the STEM subjects, whereby our fellow young girls don't excel much, in the authority we have in the Maritime Safety Department, where we have a number of girls, a number of female employees who are in the engineering, marine environment, who are taking through the girls and encouraging the girls on the opportunities that we do have. And secondly, as Madam Pierce has already said, we also host the WOMESA Secretariat, we have been supporting the activities of WOMESA, and in addition to that, we also provide equal employment opportunities to our women. And I want to put it across that in our authority, the ratio, we have surpassed a third rule. We have 42% of our workforce at the Kenya Maritime Authority being women.
Maybe finally, you recently launched a strategic plan that aimed to maybe generate, I think, an extra 20 billion shillings to the economy every year, and I think create about 12,000 jobs around there. From that plan, how does the future look for the maritime sector in the country?
Well, first of all, I want to correct you that the strategic plan that we have, we just launched it just 2 weeks ago, and the figure you're mentioning about 20 billion, I would like to correct you. Maybe you decided to add a zero in front. It's supposed to be approximately in excess of 2 billion Kenya shillings. So we as an authority and through our ministry, we're coming up with the merchant shipping levy, whereby we are going to have a certain percentage of the MS levy that we do collect to support the seafarers programs. So we expect to up the game, and the target is within the next 5 years we need to have to produce approximately 10,000 seafarers. So you can see we have a tall order of producing 2,000 seafarers annually, of which now with the launch of Bandari Maritime Academy by His Excellency the President some few weeks ago, we expect to up the game. We also have other training institutions like Technical University of Mombasa. We have the Kenya Coast National Polytechnic, among others that are providing these maritime-related courses, of which have accreditation to the Kenya Maritime Authority.
Can I highlight something about, just to add to what the DJ has said about the growth of the sector? We're looking at the maritime sector through the prism of a blue economic model. And you will recall that the Blue Economy Implementation Committee, a creation of His Excellency the President, is actually aiming at this. How does the blue economic model work? It's looking at the sector widely, because traditionally fisheries has been looking at the sector through fisheries. The ports has been looking at the sector through the eye of the port. And as a regulator, maybe we also look at it through the eye of, So it's those single stories that we are now integrating together to create the blue economy model. And how will that work is to look at the strengths in each sector, to look at what each sector can bring to the table, integrating those benefits, bringing cross-pollination, and therefore coming up with a bigger whole that produces so much more to the economy. He's talked about capacity building. Capacity building, that's very important, because you're talking of jobs, you're talking of skills that are then plowed back to improve the maritime sector. You're talking of people who go out there, train, get an open mindset, then come back and invest, because we don't expect our seafarers to be at sea forever. We expect them to go, grow, and come back and invest. When you talk of the ports, the same thing, the model of improving our stake and our contribution or rather participation in the shipping sector, growing and developing the fisheries sector into a much bigger cake. Tourism also, incorporating aspects of the maritime component, tourism into our national tourist package, combining them, that when we have one migration in the Mara, we are also incorporating the migration that takes part into the sea to create a bigger tourist package for the tourists. So these are all things, taking advantage of our geographical position to play a much bigger role in the international logistics hub, combining the international ports, the international airports, beautiful weather all round, to create a much more products for our tourism sector. So that's the blue economy model, and that's what we are pursuing now as a country, and brings us all together to work together to bring it. The Coast Guard, giving us maritime law enforcement all of us supporting each other so that the maritime sector becomes the catalyst to the development of this economy.
Final question for me. When we talk about maritime issues, most of the time it's always about the Indian Ocean and around the coastal region, that's
Yes.
Mombasa. But we have lakes around the country, Lake Victoria, and some of them are actually developing very fast. Maybe you should shed more light on how
Okay.
this is becoming of importance.
Our blue economy concept, and this has been highlighted very well through the African Union from UNECA. We don't just look at the oceans, it covers even inland waters, and we've got 10,000 square kilometers of inland waters nationally. Very rich, water bodies. You look at Lake Victoria, the second deepest freshwater lake in the world, big segment of fisheries. You look at Lake Bogoria, birdwatcher's paradise, Lake Turkana, the Jade Sea. I mean, each of them has got a very important and unique facet that can be used to propel economic development. So our blue economy model has not ignored that, and we are looking towards increasing the contribution of the sector as a whole, not just the Indian Ocean. I'm happy to tell you that.
Thank you.
Thank you.